Good day. President Trump used the Thanksgiving holiday to announce a sweeping new immigration agenda, which he termed a reverse migration plan. In a late-night post on his Truth Social platform, the president pledged to permanently halt immigration from nations he described as third world countries, and to revoke millions of admissions that occurred during the Biden administration. The plan also calls for the removal of foreign nationals who are deemed public charges, security risks, or what he termed non-compatible with Western civilization. Mr. Trump stated that the country's immigration system has been overwhelmed and that his proposals would allow it to fully recover. The plan also includes ending federal benefits for non-citizens and expanding deportations. The president's comments followed a shooting just blocks from the White House earlier this week, which he referenced as context. The incident involved 2 National Guard members who were shot in what officials have described as a targeted attack. One of the service members, 20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom of West Virginia, has died from her injuries. The second, 24-year-old Andrew Wolf, is reportedly still in critical condition. The suspected gunman, identified as 29-year-old Rahmanullah Lakhanwal, also remains in serious condition. Officials have confirmed that Lakhanwal entered the United States legally in 2021 under humanitarian parole as part of Operation Allies Welcome, following the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. President Trump concluded his post with a stern message saying, "Other than that, happy Thanksgiving to all, except those that hate, steal, murder, and destroy everything that America stands for. You won't be here for long." In a separate Thanksgiving address to U.S. service members, President Trump announced a new phase in the administration's efforts to combat drug trafficking from Venezuela. Speaking to the 7th Bomb Wing at Dyess Air Force Base in Texas, he said the U.S. will very soon begin stopping suspected Venezuelan drug traffickers by land. The president praised the Air Force for its success in deterring maritime trafficking, claiming that efforts at sea have stopped approximately 85% of illicit shipments. He noted that traffickers are now less willing to use sea routes and that land-based interdiction would be the next step. This announcement follows comments made earlier this month in which the president did not rule out the possibility of sending U.S. ground troops to Venezuela. The administration has intensified its crackdown on criminal networks tied to the country, with at least 21 lethal strikes carried out since September on suspected drug boats in the Eastern Pacific and Caribbean. Many of these vessels have been linked to Venezuela's Tren de Aragua gang. Meanwhile, in a significant development related to border operations, the Department of Homeland Security has suspended federal funding for a prominent nonprofit in South Texas. Catholic Charities of the Rio Grande Valley, long known for its migrant shelter run by Sister Norma Pimentel, is now facing a proposed 6-year debarment from receiving federal grants. The action follows a DHS investigation that, according to internal documents, uncovered major grant violations and widespread inaccuracies in migrant records. The suspension applies only to the Rio Grande Valley affiliate, not to Catholic Charities USA or its other chapters. In a formal notice, DHS officials accused the organization of submitting data so inconsistent that the agency could not verify if many of the people it claimed to have served had ever appeared in federal databases. Auditors found that in sample sets of data submitted for reimbursement, error rates were as high as 42%, with A numbers frequently missing or replaced with incorrect entries. The investigation also alleged at least 248 instances where the nonprofit billed the government for services provided outside the 45-day window that federal rules allow for migrants released from DHS custody. The agency noted that such activity could amount to potential criminal activity. The proposed 6-year ban is unusually severe, reflecting what DHS described as a pattern of pervasive problems spanning multiple years and programs. The organization now has 30 days to respond to the allegations. This federal scrutiny comes as the charity also faces legal pressure at the state level from Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, who has pursued cases against several migrant shelters. While Americans celebrate Thanksgiving this week, another November holiday that once held great national importance has largely faded from memory. Evacuation Day, celebrated on November 25th, marked the final departure of British troops from New York City in 1783, officially ending the Revolutionary War. For over a century, it was a major patriotic event with parades and celebrations that in New York rivaled those of Independence Day. The original Evacuation Day was a momentous occasion. After the British departed, they left behind a greased flagpole at the northern tip of Manhattan, still flying the Union Jack. A Continental Army veteran, Sergeant John Van Arsdale, famously managed to climb the pole, tear down the British flag, and replace it with the Stars and Stripes. Later that day, General George Washington led a triumphant military march down Broadway to the cheers of liberated New Yorkers. The day concluded with a dinner and a series of 13 toasts at Fraunces Tavern, where Washington celebrated the hard-won victory and expressed hope for the new nation. The holiday's prominence began to wane after President Abraham Lincoln declared Thanksgiving a national holiday in 1863. As diplomatic relations with Great Britain warmed over the following decades, particularly leading into the World Wars, celebrating the departure of British forces became less of a priority. Today, only small, sporadic commemorations are held to mark the historic day. Just as Evacuation Day gave way to Thanksgiving, the traditions of the White House have also evolved, with presidential families adding their own personal touches to the holiday menu. A look back at White House archives reveals a delicious history of first family favorites. For instance, the Bush family, with their Texas roots, were fond of deviled eggs spiced with Yucatan Sunshine habanero sauce, a favorite that their White House chef incorporated into various dishes. The Reagan family had a signature dessert, a pumpkin pecan pie, which combined two classic holiday flavors into one. Going further back, President Dwight and Mamie Eisenhower were known for their deep dish apple pie, made with tart apples and a hint of citrus rind. And during the Hoover administration, a popular side dish was marshmallow-topped sweet potatoes, mashed with butter, cream, and chopped walnuts. These recipes offer a taste of history, reflecting the regional and personal preferences that have graced the presidential Thanksgiving table across generations. From simple stuffings to elaborate desserts, each telling a small story about the families who once called the White House home.